This is what happens when prejudice meets its match. An aspiring author walks into a prestigious literary agency with her life's work, only to be told her story is too niche for mainstream success. But the receptionist who dismissed her made one fatal mistake. She underestimated the power of a determined writer with nothing left to lose. What happens next will leave you cheering and questioning every gatekeeper who ever said no to someone different. Meet Chloe, a writer whose passion burned brighter than any rejection letter. While friends built corporate careers, she spent years crafting Echoes of Home, a novel inspired by 3 generations of women in her family. This wasn't just a book. It was her grandmother's wisdom, her mother's strength, and her own dreams bound together in 400 pages that felt like holding living history. The day she finished the final draft, she knew this was her moment. Dressing in her interview best outfit, she walked into the glittering headquarters of Whitaker and Crest, the literary agency that launched legends. Her heart pounded with equal parts terror and excitement. She believed in the power of her story. What she didn't know was that the first person she'd meet wouldn't even read it before deciding it wasn't worth reading. The agency's lobby felt like a fortress designed to keep people like her out. Behind a desk that cost more than her rent sat Margot, a woman who assessed Chloe with the cold efficiency of a border guard. "Unsolicited manuscripts aren't accepted," Margot said without making eye contact. "But this is different," Chloe pleaded. "It's a multi-generational family saga that's already resonating with early readers." Margot finally took the manuscript, her fingers barely touching the cover. She flipped to a random page. "I see," she said, her voice dripping with disdain. "Another black family story. The market's quite saturated with these niche narratives." She pushed it back across the desk. "Self-publishing might be more your speed." The word niche echoed in the marble-walled room, reducing Chloe's family legacy to a market segment. As she stood there reeling, the doors burst open to reveal a silver-haired man waving a manuscript about his sailing adventures. "Margot, you must read this," he boomed. The receptionist's transformation was instantaneous. "William, we've been hoping you'd bring this by," she gushed, treating his manuscript like buried treasure. Chloe walked out into the rain, the humiliation washing over her in waves. But as she watched her reflection distort in a puddle, something snapped. The tears stopped. The shame turned to steel. If they called her work niche, she'd make it so mainstream they'd have no choice but to pay attention. What happened next should be taught in business schools. Chloe turned her rejection into rocket fuel. She spent 60 days becoming a publishing expert, mastering cover design, SEO optimization, and social media algorithms. She connected with book influencers hungry for authentic stories and built a community around Echoes of Home before it even launched. The book's release was quiet but strategic. Then came the earthquake, a viral TikTok from a college student crying about how the story mirrored her own life. The algorithm caught fire, book clubs adopted it, libraries couldn't keep it on shelves. Within 8 weeks, Echoes of Home did the impossible. It knocked a celebrity memoir off the New York Times bestseller list as #1 spot. The morning the list published, Margot was arranging fresh flowers at her desk when the newspaper delivery arrived. There, staring back from the front page of the arts section, was Chloe's face. Radiant and triumphant, under the headline, "Debut Novel Stuns Publishing World." Margot's porcelain coffee mug slipped through her fingers, shattering against the marble in perfect sync with her career. The dark liquid spread toward the newspaper, threatening to stain Chloe's smiling face, a fitting metaphor for the mess she'd made. Chloe's life transformed overnight. 7-figure publishing deals, film rights auctions, translation into 30 languages. She never thought about Whitaker and Crest again. They'd become irrelevant. When Margot was let go weeks later, Chloe felt nothing. Her victory wasn't about schadenfreude, it was about the thousands of messages from readers who saw themselves in her pages. But success couldn't erase the memory of that dismissal. Every overnight success headline felt like a lie. She knew the truth about who'd believed in her from the start and who hadn't. This story exposes the dirty secret of creative industries, how niche has become the polite way to say, "We do not value stories from your community." It reveals how gatekeepers mistake their limited worldview for market intelligence, confusing their ignorance with business savvy. Here's what keeps me up at night. How many genius stories are we missing because they have to fight through layers of prejudice before they even reach readers? How many future classics are being stillborn because someone decided certain human experiences aren't universal enough? The revolution won't be televised. It'll be self-published, go viral, and prove all the gatekeepers wrong. The next time you hear something dismissed as too niche, ask yourself, are you looking at something that lacks appeal, or are you witnessing someone's failure to imagine an audience broader than themselves? Because as Chloe's story shows, the most niche stories often turn out to be the most universal truths we've been starving for.